The auto industry just can't seem to get a break. U.S. assembly plants are weeks away from shutdowns due to new chip shortages. Here we go again. And Germany's VDA, that's their lobbying group for their auto industry, warns that suppliers and automakers in Europe are also only days away from having to shut down production because of another chip shortage. And the shortage could spread well beyond Europe into Japan, Korea, and so forth. And once it's here in the U.S., you know it's going to take a while to recover. In late September 2025, the Dutch government seized control of Nexperia. Nexperia got bought out by a Chinese company called WingTech. The Trump administration then warned the Dutch that the Chinese were planning to move the technology and the production out of the Netherlands to China. So the Dutch government took the company over. Within days, China retaliated by restricting exports from Nexperia's Chinese operations, triggering warnings from automakers that production lines in Europe and potentially the US could face serious disruptions. And we're going to see it across the entire world. Cars on dealer lots and assembly schedules from Detroit to Wolfsburg could be directly affected if chip deliveries do not stabilize. Nexperia may not produce the most advanced semiconductors, but it manufactures high-volume automotive chips that control electronic systems in modern vehicles. Without them, automakers can't assemble cars efficiently, and automakers use what is called a legacy chip, and most have not changed over even after the last chip shortage. It's not that easy. They can't just suddenly change. Now, on September 30th, the Dutch government invoked an emergency powers to take control of Nexperia, citing concerns about technology transfers to the company's Chinese parent company, WingTech. This action followed months of U.S. pressure, including adding WingTech to the U.S. entity list and extending export and control restrictions to subsidies owned at least 50% by China. In other words, they were warning them China was going to take this information and use it to their advantage, but they took a long time to react, and then when they did react, Dutch officials described the intervention as a defensive step to protect the European technology assets and to maintain supply chain security. While day-to-day operations were to continue, strategic decisions that now fell under government oversight, well, this is a significant escalation for the European tech industry. China's response and the industry warning, well, that was pretty loud. On October 4th, China's Ministry of Commerce issued export controls prohibiting Nexperia China and its subcontractors from exporting certain finished components and subassemblies. Therefore, automakers immediately expressed concern, and the European Auto Manufacturers Association warned that production could be significantly disrupted. In the U.S., the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, representing nearly all major automakers including General Motors, Ford, Toyota, Volkswagen, and Hyundai, urged for a quick resolution. If the shipment of automotive chips doesn't resume quickly, it's going to disrupt automotive production in the U.S. and many other countries and have spillover effects into the industry, said CEO John Bozzella. Some U.S. auto plants could be affected as soon as next month, and that means 2026 models being shipped in November. That's going to be a problem. And why those chips matter is because modern vehicles rely heavily on electronics. We all know that. But even models without luxury infotainment systems use Nexperia chips for electronic control units, power management, safety systems, and even more. The disruption illustrates the fragility of the global supply chain. Automakers cannot simply switch suppliers overnight. Qualifying new chips and redesigning vehicle modules takes months, sometimes even years. And even a small interruption can cascade, causing production delays and increased costs and halting assembly lines. Volkswagen and BMW reported that European production has not yet been impacted, but said they were actively evaluating supply risks. In the U.S., exposure grows daily as plants rely on components sourced through European operations or shared supplier networks. Japan and other countries are already preparing for negative impact. There are signs of a potential resolution, though. Sources indicate that Nexperia China's unit has resumed chip sales to domestic distributors. While this relieves internal pressures, internal supply chain remains very strained, and automakers are closely monitoring whether shipments to Europe and to the U.S. will normalize. And it's hard to trust what China might do and the impact of the tariffs. And we'll find that out soon, as it's constantly in flux. But automakers need to be very aware, because even temporary shortages can affect vehicle availability. pricing, feature sets, and a delay in a single electronic control unit, for instance, can prevent an entire vehicle line from rolling off the assembly line. And the impact to automakers and consumers can be massive. The disruption could lead to short-term production slowdowns, with car plants in Europe, Japan, Korea, and potentially the U.S. reducing shifts, delaying vehicle launches, or postponing deliveries. And this has a global economic impact as well. And BMW and Volkswagen in Germany are actively evaluating supply chains, while Ford, General Motors, Toyota, and Hyundai in the U.S. could see plants affected within weeks if chip shipments are delayed. The need to find alternative suppliers, expedite shipping, and re-engineer components will increase costs, potentially raising vehicle prices again for consumers. And automakers are also likely to accelerate supply chain restructuring, diversify suppliers, resourcing production domestically, or redesigning vehicles to rely less on a single source component. And we've discussed this. We're hoping to see vehicles available with less technology, not more. Now, if chip availability remains constrained, vehicles may arrive with fewer options. We've seen that in the past. Or worse, higher prices. And that impacts both the buyers, the dealers, the economy, literally everyone. And this will not help the auto industry at all. There are some lessons here for the auto industry. The Nexperia dispute highlights a growing reality. Automakers are navigating a geopolitical minefield, and governments increasingly treat technology and component supply as strategic assets. And decisions made halfway across the world can ripple through the production lines almost instantaneously. And it seems like the last chip shortage didn't teach too many lessons, although you would think so. Automakers must now consider geopolitical risk in procurement decisions, diversify suppliers, and maintain contingency stock. For consumers, vehicle availability, pricing, and features can be affected by forces far beyond local dealerships. Just like the last chip shortage, dealers raised prices to offset the lack of supply and high demand. Let's hope it doesn't come to this again, because this was not good for anyone other than maybe the dealers. The Nexperia situation demonstrates how global automotive production is intertwined with geopolitics. While cars may seem insulated from politics, a single regulatory move in the Netherlands can impact production schedules, inventory, and pricing across multiple continents. For now, the situation is fluid. Automakers are monitoring supply chains, governments are negotiating behind the scenes, and consumers may see a ripple effect in pricing and vehicle availability. We will be monitoring the movements and keeping you posted. In a world where electronics are essential to cars as engines, supply chain resilience is no longer optional. It's critical. The Nexperia dispute is a warning sign, and for the auto industry, the stakes could not be higher. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts. You can support me by buying me a cup of coffee, and if you want even more content, check out the links in the description. I'm Lauren Fix. Thank you so much for watching.